Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Today we are going to discuss about meanings of classroom and its management, principles of classroom management, and techniques for better classroom discipline. So this will be today our focus. Now, first of all, we know that education is as old as society itself. Even the ancient savage had to learn about the environment for his survival. And to gratify man's basic desires and need of seeking knowledge in formal and systematic way, so many philosophers and educators endeavored in their own styles. Classrooms were used as appropriate arena for teaching learning activities. So remember that classroom always are being used for teaching learning activities in any organizations. So if we observe in the past, and we have seen that education had been limited to the elite class of society, but in the recent past, with the rapid development in all spheres of life, need for mass education arose, which resulted in the emergence of large classes. So teaching in normal classes didn't provide much problem to the teachers, but the large classes certainly hampered the smooth functioning of educational activities. So teaching, if it is done in large classes, so this is a worldwide phenomena, especially in the developing countries of the world. Like large size classes make the use of certain teaching materials and methods difficult, if not impossible. So in certain cases, the students feel the content of some of their course meaningless and inappropriate due to the large size of class. So remember that whenever the class size will be large, then student will take the course as meaningless for them. So the teacher also feel helpless to impart proper teaching in such classes, and that is just because due to a greater size in the class. So normally they go into these classes just to pass away the time without bothering much about the need and interest of their students. So teacher always then try to pause their times when they think that they cannot import the knowledge and they cannot handle a large class. So that's why they just try to pause their times. However, the teachers of all types at all levels agree that large classes are causing big hindrance in teaching. Hence, need from management of large classes arose. So this is just because of the main reason, you can say, that we have a greater population and we have less number of schools or organizations as compared to our uh, population. So that's why this is a big problem, because government should pay her attentions toward opening the new schools or organizations, so that the people, or you can say the populations, may be managed well in manner. The term management of large classes is often understood with maintaining discipline in the large classes. So management of large classes in the instructional perspective means the complex set of plans and actions that the teacher uses to ensure that the learning in the classroom is effective and efficient. The concept of management of large classes is broader than that of discipline, so which often connotes a central goal of keeping students quiet and in their seats. So there is nothing wrong with having students quiet and in their seats, but that should not be the teacher's central goal. So effective classroom teachers place discipline in its proper perspectives in the total instructional scene. So management that also involves the teaching students in such a way and means that they can manage their own behavior in classroom settings and by establishing learning situations that will allow them to do this. So it is in this sense that management is broader than discipline and encompasses the teacher's overall educational goals. So by implementing management plans, the teacher not only hopes to increase students' learning but also help students develop ways and means to understand and direct their own behavior. So the concept of management in this context is hard to differentiate from the concept of instruction, and the two are closely related in theory and practice. So good classroom managers are often good teachers. Remember that where there are good classrooms, or you can say where there is a learning, so it is totally due to the teachers. They always create the classroom environment because the classroom environment that is totally dependent on the teachers will, so as to maximize the students' learning opportunities, thus reducing the problems of classroom management. Management of classes always demands such strategies, methods, and measures which should facilitate productive work in teaching learning process. And the education department, school administration, and the teacher himself have to show their concern and involvement. So this problem needs to be considered as part of the pedagogic life and worthy of investigation. As Peter Hubert, who as the director of Language Research and Development Center at Mexico University, had made the remarks about the research worthiness of language learning in large classrooms, as the large classes phenomena is not researched because most researchers react by saying that it is not theoretically interesting and it is insoluble, means the only solution generally thought is to avoid large classes, as the management of large classes is not simple but complex. So the first principles of classroom management, that is assess, clarify and communicate needs and expectations. This is just because of that our society has some needs, and because if we talk about the students, so students and teachers, they also have certain needs and they also have certain expectations. So for that purpose, student and teacher needs, rights and expectations should be openly discussed on the first day of class and reviewed periodically as a perspective measure. Student needs, rights or expectations means students' basic needs include survival, belongings, power, fun and freedom. So they expect the teachers to facilitate that learning by setting limits on disruptive students' behavior. As a teacher needs the full attention of each student, so he has the right to establish optimal learning environments. He may expect behavior which contributes to optimum students' growth. And for further expectations of the students, like the student is expected to come prepared to class with appropriate class materials and a willingness to learn. So the students are expected to behave respectfully to the teachers and to other students. Furthermore, the student is expected to accept the consequences of misbehavior. And if we talk about the further expectations of teachers, so the teacher is expected to consider interesting curricula which meets the students' needs, to provide stimulating and useful lessons, and to always ask the students to be the best that they can be. Furthermore, the teacher expected to use teaching practices which are likely to motivate students to engage in worthwhile learning activities. The second principle of classroom management, that is to create warm and nurturing classroom climate. So the classroom, that should be the place where the student feels welcome and at home. So students need to feel safe and accepted. So ridicule and sarcasm are not allowed. Mutual respect and the golden rule is the key for maintaining this climate. And if we talk about the physical environment, so classroom should be the clean and pleasantly decorated with students' creations, yet free from distracting stimuli, and the desk should be arranged to allow students to work cooperatively as well as allowing the teachers to circulate freely and efficiently. And then treatment of students, like each student deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. We all know that every student needs respect and dignity, so students should be personally greeted at the door. So they should be given as much personal attention as possible during the outside of class. Expire the crops means although there are many causes of expired the crops, a teacher's enthusiasm, level of concerns for the students, and class involvement all can affect the levels of class togetherness. So this force can benefit cooperative learning exercises and make the curricula seem much more enjoyable. So the third principle, that is democratically develop a set of rules and consequences. This is very also important, that there should be some set of rules. So teachers and students, they must create together the discipline plans including rules with clear and effective consequences. The rules should be agreed upon and understood by everyone in the class. So it should be understood that when rules are broken, consequences will be applied fairly and consistently. Jointly develop class rules based on expectations and needs. The teacher solicits help to develop a set of classroom rules and responsibilities. The ideal list would be short and reflect the concepts of mutual respect and personal responsibility. And then the other point, that is discuss logical consequences, means whatever the things would be happen, that should have some logic. So logical consequences, those they are the results which consistently flow certain behavior. So they are explained in advance and agreed by the students. It is hoped that by understanding the consequences of disruptive behavior, that students will make better choices, and consequences should be related to the misbehavior so the students can see the connection. So for example, if you choose not to work on your assignment, so you will say after school until it is finished. Then display the rules and consequences prominently. This is very important, that if your organization or school have some rules, so that should be properly displayed at a certain places. Once the class has developed is a list of rules, they should be displayed as the reminder to those who may wish to break them. So this gives the teacher something to point out at when requesting certain behavior. The fourth principle, that is develop a daily routine yet remain flexible. So you remember that you must have some daily routines and it should be flexible. Teacher can avoid this dilemma by installing class routines and procedures, so which can allow the students to begin and complete work expeditiously. So every minute counts. Remember that as a part of an effective routine, it is the best for students to begin work immediately after the bell rings. Fun problems or interesting reflections topics can be put on the overhead projectors to meaningfully occupy the students until attendance is taken. The activity could lead directly into the day's lesson. So providing assistance once the lesson has been presented, the teacher is free to answer individual students' questions. So during this time, the teacher must be aware of what is happening. in all areas of classrooms. So therefore it is important to give efficient help to the students. This type of help may also reduce the number of cases of the dependency syndromes, students asking questions without actually needing help. Managing assignments collection. So each class has its own basket for daily assignments. At the end of hours, on the way out of class, students drop off their completed assignments for grading. Restructure or reschedule. So it is understood that lesson plans can be affected by conditions beyond the control of teachers. So there may be cases where class activities must be restructured or rescheduled to accommodate the changed conditions. It is possible with some ingenuity to make the situations a learning experience beneficial to all. Okay, the fifth principle, that is make learning more attractive and fun for the students. Remember that your learning should be more attractive and having some fun for the students. As school exists for the students and not for the teachers, so it is important for teachers to expend every effort necessary to make the curriculum relevant, the lessons interesting, the activities enjoyable. The results will be an engaged and active participant in the learning process. So genuine incentive, like students respond well to the participation of preferred group activities, referred to as genuine incentives. It is possible to get an entire class on task if the incentive is available to all students and attractive to the entire group so as to merit extra effort. The incentive should be both stimulating to the students and educationally valuable. Active student involvement. So the teacher can make learning more attractive by giving a coherent and smoothly paced lesson presentation. So getting the lessons going, keeping it going with smooth transactions, avoiding abrupt changes that interfere with students' activity and postponing situations are important. Are important. So in maintaining positive students' behavior associated with being on task. Then focus on students' needs. You remember that if you don't focus on the students' need, then it would also be difficult to assess their needs. So lesson topics should be relevant to the students if at all possible. So teaching strategies should be congruent with the students' learning styles. The teacher should help the students develop learning goals which are real, attainable, and source of pride. Activities should be fun for the students. The sixth principle, that is deal with misbehavior quickly, consistently, and respectfully. This is very important. Like misbehavior, this is a disruptions to my effectiveness as an educator. The time spent dealing with misbehaving would be better spent for teaching others. So therefore, misbehavior will be dealt with quickly and consistently with clause defined consequences. Non-verbal communications, body language like facial expressions, gestures, eye contact, and physical proximity all can be effective in promoting self-control by the student. So it is important that teacher is aware enough to be able to recognize when misbehavior may occur and to have non-verbal methods to prevent escalations. Connie refers to this level of awareness as witnesses. So reminders are requests, like it is possible that verbal reminders of the classroom rules and consequences, that will be all that is necessary to stop students' misbehavior. And then redirected behavior. This is one of the points that upon an act of misbehavior, teacher may describe the action to the student and suggest an acceptable alternative action. The student usually only has to be reminded of what he is supposed to be doing. For example, instead of reading that newspapers, I would like you to work on your homework for the next 5 minutes, so you can read the paper later. Then the sixth principle, that is this is continue again, this is again part of the principle number 6, like dealing with attention seeking students. Like if the students ignores an attention seeking students, so misbehavior usually escalate to the level so which eventually can't be ignored. So therefore it is best if the teacher can redirect the student's behavior and attempt to give the student attention when he is not demanding it. So this method also encourages the students to seek motivations from within instead of depending on attentions from without. Avoid power struggles. This is again one of the very important point. Like, it is important that authority figure in the classroom. You know that in classrooms, somebody show themselves that they have some authority or they are authoritative, so that the teachers may be not engage in power struggles with students. So it is the best to redirect a power seeking students behavior by offering some positions of responsibility or decision making. Then address the behavior, not the character of the students. Remember that this is very important, to address the behavior instead of character of the students. So teacher has the power to build or destroy students' self-concepts and personal relationships. Good communications addresses the situation directly, letting the students decide whether their behavior is consistent with what they expect of themselves. Then invoking consequences. To be effective, consequences must be applied consistently. They should never be harmful physically or psychologically to the students. When they are invoked, the student should understand that he has chosen them by misbehaving. So prevent escalation. Sometimes students are unwilling to listen to be teacher. At this point, the teacher can help prevent misbehavior from escalating by talking and listening with the students privately and rationally discuss the problem behavior. So the privacy enhances the possibility for the constructive discussion. So confrontations with an unwilling students could make the teachers appear weak in front of the class. Seventh principle, that is when all else fails, respectfully remove the students from the class. It means that when you apply all the rules and regulations, you have tried your best to mold the students, to mold the behavior. So even then, if that not happens to move to the you can say right path, then just remove the students from the class. So continued disruptions will not be tolerated in any schools or in any classrooms. So they are detrimental to the all students will become active and effective learners. So therefore such students will be respectfully removed from class and dealt with unconventionally. And then insubordination rule. This rule states that if a student doesn't accept the consequences for breaking a class rules, then he or she will not be allowed to remain in the class until the consequences is accepted. So this rule should be made clear to the students from the first day, and that should be strictly enforced with the administration approval of the course. Then conference means a teacher may request one-on-one conference with the students to discuss a specific behavior problem. So the goal of this conference, this is to gain insight so that helpful guidance may be provided. For more serious behavioral matters, the teachers may also request a conference with the students' parents or guardian with the same purpose. So behavioral plan is there, like this plan is for the students who do not respond to conventional disciplines. The plan can be written in contract form and should include expected behaviors for the students, positive recognitions for compliance and consequence for failing. So the plan should address one or two significant problems at a time and should use the consequences which differ from the previously failed ones used by the rest of the class. Then there are some techniques for better classroom disciplines. What are those techniques? Like here are 11 techniques are there where teacher can use in classrooms that will help him to achieve effective group management and control. So they have been adopted from an article like called a primer on classroom disciplines, principles old and new, that was by Thomas R. M.C. Daniel, Phi Delta Kaplan in May 1995. The first one, that was focusing. Focusing means that always be sure you have the attentions of everyone in your class before you start your lesson. That don't attempt to teach over the chatter of students who are not paying attentions. And inexperienced teachers sometimes think that by beginning their lessons the class will settle down, and the children will see that things are underway now and it is time to go to work. So sometimes this works, but the children are also going to think that you are willing to complete with them. So you don't mind talking while they talk, so you are willing to speak louder so that they can finish their conversations when after you have started the lessons. So they get the idea that you accept their intentions, inattentions, and that it is permissible to talk while you are presenting a lessons. And the focusing techniques means that you will demand their attentions before you begin, and that you will wait and not start until everyone has settled down. So experienced teachers know that silence on their part is very effective. So they will punctuate their waiting by extending it 5 to 10 seconds after the classroom is completely quiet. So then they begin their lessons using a quieter voice than normal. So soft spoken teachers often has a calmer, quieter classrooms than one with a stronger voice. So our students sit stills in order to hear what she says. Now the second technique, that is direct instruction, means uncertainty increases the level of excitements in the classrooms. The techniques of direct instructions is to begin each class by telling the student exactly what will be happening, and the teacher outlines what he and the students will be doing this period, and he may set time limits for some tasks. So an effective way to carry these techniques with the first one is to include time at the end of the period for students to do activities of their choosing. So the teachers may finish the description of the hours activities with an I we will have some times at the end of period for you to chat with your friends, go to the library, or catch up on work for other classes. The teacher is more willing to wait for class attentions when he know there is extra time to meet his goals and objectives. The students soon realize that the more time the teacher waits for their attentions, the less free time they have at their end of the hour. The third technique, that is monitoring. The key to this principle is to circulate. Get up and get around the room. While your students are working, make the rounds. Check on their progress. An effective teacher that will make the pass through the whole room about 2 minutes. After the students have started their written assignments, and checks that each student has started, that the children are on the correct page, and that everyone has put their name on their papers. So the delay is important. The teacher wants her students to have a problem to finish. So they can check that answers are correctly labeled or in incomplete sentences. They provide individualized instruction as needed. So students who are not yet quiet on tasks will be quick to get going as they see her approach. So this that were distracted or slow to get started and be nudged along. The teacher does not interrupt the class or try to make general announcements until she notices that several students have difficulty with the same things. So the teacher uses a quiet voice, and her students appreciate her personal and positive attention. Okay, the fourth technique, that is modeling. MC Daniel tells us of saying that goes values are caught, not taught. So the teachers who are courteous, prompt, enthusiastic, in control, patient, and organized provide examples for their students through their own behavior. Then do as I say, not as I do. Teachers send mixed messages that confuse students and invite misbehavior. If you want students to use quiet voices in our classrooms while they work, So you too will use a quiet voice as you move through the room helping youngsters. The fifth technique, that is non-verbal cueing. That is a standard item in the classroom of the 50s was a clerk's bell. A shiny nickel bell sat on the teacher's desk. With one tap of the button on top, he had everyone's attention. Teachers have shown a lot of ingenuity over the years in making use of non-verbal cues in the classroom. So, some flip light switch, others keep clickers in their pockets. Non-verbal cues can also be facial expressions, body postures, and hand signals. Care should be given in choosing the types of cues you use in your classrooms. Take time to explain what you want the students to do when you use your cues. The next technique, that is environmental control, means a classroom that can be warm, cheerly place. Students enjoy the environment that changes periodically. Study centers with the pictures and color invites enthusiasm for your subject. Young people like to know about you and your interest. Include personal items and your classrooms. A family picture or a few items from happy or collections. This is happy or collections on your desk will trigger personal conversations with your students as they get to know you better. So you will see the fewer problems with disciplines. Just as you may want to enrich your classrooms, so there are times when you may want to empowerish it as well. So you may need a quiet corner with few distractions, so some students will get caught up in visual explorations. For them, the splash and the color is a siren that pulls them off task. So they may need more vanilla and less rocky road. Have a place you can steer these youngsters to. Let him get his work some first, then come back to explore and enjoy the rest of the room. The next technique, that is low profile interventions, means most students are sent to the principal office as a result of confrontational escalations. So teacher has called them on lesser offense, but in the moment the students and the teachers are swept up in a verbal maelstrom. So much of this can be avoided when the teacher's intervention is quiet and calm. An effective teacher will not care that the student is not rewarded for misbehavior by becoming the focus of attention. So they monitor the activity in the classrooms, moving around the room. Teacher anticipates problems before they occur. They approach the misbehaving students as inconspicuous. Others in the class are not distracted. While lecturing to their class, this teacher makes effective use of name dropping. If teacher sees students talking or off task, so they simply drop the youngster's name into their dialogue in a natural way. As you see, David, we carry the 1 to the 10s columns. David hears his name and is drawn back and asked. So the rest of the class doesn't seem to notice. The next technique, that is assertive discipline. So this is traditional limit setting authoritarianism. So when executed as presented by Lee Cantor, who has made this form of discipline one of the most widely known and practiced. So it will include a good mix of praise. So this is high profile discipline. The teacher is the boss and no child has the right to interfere with the learning of any student. So clear rules are laid out and consistently enforced. Ninth technique, that is assertive one message, means a component of assertive disciplines that I messages or statements that the teacher uses when confronting a student who is misbehaving. So they are intended to be clear disruptions of what the student is supposed to do. The teacher who makes good use of these techniques will focus the child's attentions first and foremost on the behavior he wants. not on the misbehavior I want you to, or I need you to, or I expect you to. So, the inexperienced teachers may incorrectly try, I want you to stop, only to discover that this usually triggers confrontations and denial. The focus is on the misbehavior, and the student is quick to report, like I was not doing anything, or it wasn't my fault, since when there is rule against, and so on. So, and the escalation has begun. The next technique, that is humanistic I messages, like the I messages or expressions of our feelings. So Thomas Gordon, who was the creator of teacher effectiveness training, tells us to structure these messages in three parts. Like first, a description of the child behaviors when you talk while I talk, and second, the effect of this misbehavior has on a teacher, like I have to stop my teachings, and third, the feelings that it generates in the teachers, which frustrates me. And a teacher distracted by students who was constantly talking while he tried to teach once made his powerful expressions of feelings. I can't imagine that I have done to you, that I do not deserve the respect from you that I get from the others in this class. I feel enough I have somehow offended you, and now you are unwilling to show me respect. The students didn't talk during his lectures again for many weeks. 11th technique, that is positive discipline. Use classroom rules that describe the behaviors you want, instead of listing things the students can't do. Instead of no running in the room, move through the building in an orderly manner. Instead of no fighting, use settle conflicts appropriately. Instead of no gum chewing, use leave gum at home. Refer to your rules as expectations. Let your students know that this is how you expect them to behave in your classroom. Make ample use of praise. When you see good behavior, acknowledges it. So this can be done verbally, of course, but it doesn't have to be. A nod, a smile, or a thumbs up will reinforce the behavior. This was all about the topics that I announced earlier. So thank you for watching, and I have given some links in description below for more understanding in Urdu language also. But even then, you may see my blogs, you may follow my blogs, and you can change all these things in your own languages. I have put over Google translators in my blog page, so there you can change all the notes in your languages, and hopefully and still you didn't subscribe my channel, so please subscribe it, and get more updated lectures, and stay with me. Take care. Allah Hafiz.